you can use um, well, I don't want to get too confusing here. Um, the major and minor, I'm sorry, minor and major, to mount your. I can explain it this way, but I'm not going to because that could be confusing for the newbies. So, all I'm saying is that this is the number one of the scale, and it will always be no matter what scale you put in here. So, for example, if we slid this pattern off the C note, you'll end up with some sharps and flats in one of these boxes. That's all that happens. But you could, this is always the root. This is always the number one. That's what's static. So you could theoretically write in this box, this will change. You could have D sharp, E sharp, E sharp, would that be an F sharp, and then on and on. All the notes that correspond to some other scale in these boxes. Those will change. But the this will always stay the same. That will always be the 1. That'll always be the 7. That'll be the 3, the 4, the 2, and the 2 repeat. That leaves us with the 6 and the 5. 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's always the same. Your 6th note is there. Your 6th chord starts there. You can theoretically have every arpeggio in this shape here. You could have, I'm just going to draw them as dots down here. If we wanted the 1, we would have 1, major, 3rd, and 5. And then there's our 7 if we wanted it. We could, an arpeggio from our 2, we could have, well, it has an A, a D, and an F. You could have, you have all the notes of your chords. So the D, F, A. You can have a G, G, B, D. F, A, C, A, C, E, B, D, F, C, E, G. Easy, right? All your arpeggios are contained within this box. It's magic. It has everything that is available on the guitar is going to be available right in this box because it has every note in there. And it's only missing, now you notice that there's 5 spice notes, so there's technically 1 missing here. So it doesn't contain everything, but why do you need that note anyways? And it's right here and right here. So you have, I'm getting weird looks from bystanders. You have everything here to record your, threw me off track, to play your music. So, knowing that's always the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4. Let me see if there's any other dynamics there. Like, for example, modes. I'm gonna write that down really quick here. Modes. You would always have that as the Ionian. This will always be the Dorian. Since the chord order is the same, the mode order is always the same. So you could put these letters in there. D for Dorian. We want a, well, it's really sloppy there. We want a P for Phrygian. That's why we wanted to make that look like a D. We want an L for Lydian, and M for Mixolydian, A for Aeolian, and finally we have an L for Locrian. To avoid confusion between the two L's, I use this one as LX because it's an X. I'm not going to play that one very often. It's Locrian. It's just something we can shelve until the time comes to experiment with an advanced oddball mode such as Locrian. Okay, so that being said, let's take the magic square to the fretboard and find out another magic thing about it. Let's start up here where we found A, B, C, D, E, F at the top of the Aeolian scale. Stands to reason that there's the, notice Aeolian comes from the 6th chord of the scale. Check that out. It's the, right there in the box, it's the 6. There's the 1. So in the key of C, this is the 6, A, this is the 1, the 2, the 3, and the 4, and the 5. G. Okay. So here's what I want to show you. If you're ever in the square and you're thinking to yourself, okay, I've played around a couple of little licks in here, I want to move on to somewhere else. And I basically want it to go up to the next octave. I want to basically play more licks, and they're going to have to be in the next octave, or else it's going to sound exactly the same. And maybe that's what you want. Maybe you want it to sound the same. You'll move in that direction. But the magic is in this direction here. There's 2. Put an arrow here, and there'll be another arrow like here. There's 2 directions you have to know, 2 rows of these kind of squares, and you can populate the entire fretboard as long as you use the back wall and the front wall. How does it work? Always know the magic is, here's a magic bit of information. They always connect in the corner here. So if you have BC and you're within a normal tuning range, meaning you're tuned at the 5th fret, we'll go over that, that'll come up in a second. You'll have B, C, E, F. And if you'll notice, this, my friends, is a tritone row. This is the only area. Look at how the notes roll here. B, F, B, F, and there'll be another B, F down here. And it's the only row you can take where there's just simply 2 notes that repeat. Every other note has a series of notes. Every other direction, if you go that way or that way. I mean, what can you really do? You can move that way. You can move that way. You could move that way on a guitar. You can move that way or that way. And on and on. That's moving in 5ths, 4ths, and 5ths. Anyways, that's getting too advanced for you guys at this moment. Hopefully your head's exploding. So I'll draw, since I'm here and we don't want to go back, maybe I'll just draw the squares for now. So the next square, you would think, should follow the same rule. However, let's remember that we're grouping our note grouping is like this. E in the A string, D in the G string, B in the E string. Well, we know there's that difference when we tune the G and the B string, so that creates a skip up 1 fret. So just always got to remember that hiccup. Now, I use this a lot, especially when I was new. I don't really even think about this anymore, but when I was learning to get across the fretboard anywhere, I would think about this a lot. And even as a standalone bit of information. However, if you take a look what's being built here, remember I said this was the top of the Aeolian scale. Well, look at this square and look at this square. Does that remind you of someplace? That should pop out in your mind's eye as, come on, the Dorian scale. Oops, off the screen here, as usual. Square there and a square up there. Of course, I separated them so they would be clear to look at here, but if you look at them, whoa, well, I guess I could have done that here too. The Dorian scale here, you have a square here, and then the square there, and the square there. That's basically what we're populating right now. Square, square, square. Now, so we've got our first row complete. It's that simple. You've got a square there, square there, square there, and you've covered that many notes of your major scale are all under your fingers without barely even having to think about it. Let's do a little more digging here. So what we have here is a rule that goes as is above, so is below. But there's a little nuance to the rule. It's basically how the E strings are the same. So if you have a box, wherever your box ends, you're going to copy. Your next question should be, well, how can I find my next row of boxes so I can get over here on the fretboard? You could simply go right up and start up here. But there's only going to be a half of a box. It doesn't start again. The second row is using a different grouping of strings. It uses the E as one, and it uses the middle two strings as a group. Whoops, once again, we were off the screen there. Sorry, folks. Bad habit of mine on these lessons. So let's draw that then. We have EF, so we would have EF. That means we have a corner connect here and a nice, happy, full scale B, C, E, F. And what we should be populating here, if we put the wall in front of this one, we just need to add a note in there. Now we've got our complete Dorian scale, and we've got our basically our Dorian Phrygian group or team or whatever you want to call it, how they're both linked together. Well, there they are, EF, so we got a G right there. And it's always DG. Here's another thing you've got DG and AD, so basically Adam and his dog, Adam and God, right? If that rings a bell with you, and you know, so whatever. So we got E, B. Oh, sorry, that's a C. Looks like an E because of an erase. So obviously D, F, G. Basically, if we're on the outside, we've only got DG or AD, so not too hard. Here we are. We've already got DG down there because that's corresponding to this one. This one's corresponding to this one. That must be, if it's on the left, it's AD. Here would be DG. But anyways, squares is what we're talking about here. So I got to highlight something for you here. So we've got our half square here, going along with our half square there. We've got our full square here. We'll highlight all our squares. Now down here we have a little bit of a problem. Once again, the square does link up on the corner here. That's good. So we've got BC once again. Now we're in between our G and B string where that weird tuning thing happens. So our box also breaks up there. Break it up, pour some sugar on me. And you can see that right here in the Aeolian scale. Basically, we're in this box, we're in the Dorian Phrygian kind of grouping. Here, we're just in the Phrygian pentatonic. Here, now we're in the Aeolian pentatonic. So you can kind of think you just changed rooms just by following this simple rule. You're in a new area that completes that area, every note that you need in that area of the fretboard. So we have, just by going from here to here, since I know I was off screen there for a second, B, C, E, F. After G is what? A. Then we have a B, C. Why do we have a B, C there? Because we're connecting once again to there. As is above, so is below. So above here, we should have the same as below here. We have a B, C, so we should have a B, C here. And B, C is always the same as E, F. Now, is this a brand new BC from this BC? No. We have, that should be the 13th fret. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. It's the same note. We're an octave higher now on the guitar. We've essentially completed the entire fretboard. E, F, G with following rules. All these little ones I'm populating here are just simply the walls here of the, here, let me draw it here, since our diagram is a page away. The square, or the, maybe you can call it the window, or navigation guidepost. It's really what it is. It helps you navigate every aspect of every area of the fretboard, and diagonally too. So you're really kind of getting through the notes in a not so much of a conventional way. Although it's a neat lick, but it's very predictable and somewhat stale at this point. If you have your, your first finger on the A and D, this fret is your first finger, second, third, and fourth fingers, and you play, a lick right there. Let's see if I can get my guitar out here. I played it in another lesson here. This lick right here. Kind of cool, obviously, but a little tired. A little bit obvious and predictable. So you may want to get a little more creative with your lines and stuff. But let's go back this way and see how it works. We basically know that when this square's on top here, we're at the top of the Aeolian scale, which has that mixed box down below. And so it should be BC. Yeah, that's right, BC. Oops, BC. What comes before A? G. And then we've got our, before BC, EF square was the AD. An octave away from A, right? And so, of course, then we have our broken box here, which is BCEF. Oops. That should link up BCD, right? And then above that's G. G is always before A. And there we have it. If we kept going, we would be in our Phrygian scale, which is basically EF, G. I'll give that a little here, actually, so we can see our. These are both the same exact notes. You compare the scales; they're exactly the same. We just got about them in two different ways. We took our gut notes all across the fretboard. Here we had our gut notes as memorized within the pentatonic scale, and used 3 different pentatonic scales to populate the entire fretboard. Here we just had our gut notes that are within the squares, helping us as a guideline really know where everything is in the fretboard. This is a little bit more, this will give you a little bit more of a linear, you still might be going up and down without really jumping diagonally into each box, where this will give you more of a diagonal approach, which I think was helpful to learn both. So there's all our squares. There's our repeat square. And then of course, here and here. That means there must be one here. And one right there. Because we're in the Phrygian box. And there's one there. These notes here. And that note there. These two, as is above, so is below. There must be a linked note right there. And without any further ado, we've completely populated the fretboard on just this magic square idea up here, and we've populated the same exact notes, just using our populated. And then once you start doing that, here's a little bit of an advance. Start to find out there's triad shapes on the let's see, the D, G, B string. There's some triad shapes that look like this. Here's one triad shape. I think another one is, what is here, here, and here, I think. And then we have one that goes like, I think it's that. You can see where You can use these little, there's triads in here that link the scales up. Here's one right here. There's a triad that'll link. Let's see, what would that be? That would be a C, whoops, let's go down here. C, E, G. C chord will help link up some of these. Will get you from the Aeolian box to the Dorian box here. An E chord is within the Phrygian. There is a F. That's got to be an A. F, A, C will get you from still within the Phrygian box. You got a G, B, D. A G chord will get you from Aeolian to the Phrygian. You know, when those triads are coming up in your scale and you're going for chord tones, you got your 1 and your 5 as link ups. So just some things to think about there. D, F, A is right in between, right in your Dorian. You've got the minor triad in there. E, G, B, you got the E minor triad in the Phrygian. E being the 3rd chord. The E, G, B is the chord of Phrygian. So it's amazing how it just all links together if you just give it some time to explore graph paper on your fretboard. So this is probably the longest of them all. I can't see the time frame here. What did we get on this lesson? 48 minutes. Oh my god, that's too long. It's going to take forever to upload, but probably worth it in the end, because now with this lesson you should be able to play up and down the fretboard. So I'll leave you with a nice still as I can picture there, so you can pause it and copy all that down, and perhaps you want to copy some of this down, changes. This is so this is dynamic. The note names are dynamic. The frets that they'll cover are dynamic. The modes are static. This will never change. This is always the one. This is always Ionian. You could color these in to, if you have that what's it called, synesthesia, where you associate colors. You memorize colors with notes really well. This could really help you if you color those in. Alright, I hope this helped you. Leave a comment below, like and subscribe. And a question if you got a question from all this. Thank you very much for watching, especially a full 50-minute video. I know that's hard, can be hard, especially when they're not scripted. And I will catch you on the next lesson, folks. Thanks for watching Mind's Eye Visual Guitar Help. Tell your friends.